This is a remarkable real-life encounter between wild animals and humans. From snakes as long as bamboo poles to animals with strange appearances that look like mutants. And at first glance, you wouldn't think they're possible or even real. Some were locked up for a long time, and when released, they caused real trouble for people. That's why in this video, we'll take a look at some of the most unusual and hair-raising encounters between humans and animals. These are scenes that were captured on camera and are still being talked about around the world to this day. But before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. This is a big help for us content creators. Thank you very much, and now let's get started. Midnight python wranglers of Florida. We already know that Florida is known for its unusual animals, but this encounter is like a scene from a horror movie. A group of friends was just out for a walk past midnight on July 16 when they suddenly came across a giant Burmese python that was almost 18 feet long. This wasn't just an ordinary quiet snake. It was ready to attack. As they got closer, it suddenly lunged at them. It opened its mouth like a monster. But instead of backing away, one of them bravely grabbed the python by the neck. That's when the intense struggle began, because it immediately wrapped its strong muscles around the man's body, and it kept squeezing him until he could barely breathe. Luckily, his friends didn't leave him behind. They all attacked the monster snake together, and with all their strength, they held it down until they managed to tie it up and close its sharp jaws with tape. And after that tense moment, news came out that they had caught the longest Burmese python ever recorded in Florida's history. Ancient creature found at a power plant in China. While building a power plant in China, workers were surprised when they discovered something just a few meters underground. They thought it was just an ordinary fossil, but what they found looked like a creature from ancient times. The fur was still intact and it looked almost fresh. When the experts arrived, there were even more questions than answers. Some biologists say this isn't a fossil that's been buried for millions of years. Instead, some suspect that this is the result of an experiment, a hybrid animal. Until now, the true origin of that creature remains a mystery. Some believe that it could secretly be a product of genetic testing that was never reported in the news. Others, however, are convinced that it might be a type of animal we thought had long disappeared, but has reappeared in the wrong place and at the wrong time. A chilling question remains. Is this really a creature from the past, or is it just the result of human experiments? Medusa, the top python superstar. If there's a celebrity in the world of snakes, it's none other than Medusa. She is considered the largest living python ever caught. She's not just big, she's a living legend. Medusa can be seen at a haunted attraction called Edge of Hell in Missouri, where she is the main star. At just 7 years old, she already reached a length between 24 to 26 feet and weighed almost 300 pounds. And what's even more surprising is that she continues to grow. Moving or handling Medusa is no joke. It takes 16 people just to lift her all at the same time. So it's no wonder that many people are amazed when they see her. It's like she's a monster straight out of legend. Although the idea of a snake this big is frightening, Medusa wasn't used to scare people, but rather to show the wonders of nature. She shows that sometimes the most terrifying creature is also the most amazing. Kitchen, anaconda, panic. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night just to get some food from the kitchen. When you turn on the light, there's a giant anaconda sprawled on the floor, like a scene from a nightmare. This is exactly what happened to a man when he saw the giant snake lying in the middle of their kitchen. You can clearly see its bulging stomach, a sign that it just swallowed something heavy. Because it was full, it was lying there comfortably, as if it was just resting. But instead of backing away or avoiding it, the man made a mistake. He even tried to touch the anaconda, a wrong decision that almost cost him his life. It suddenly fought back, quickly raising its head and striking. You could clearly see the sharp teeth ready to sink in. Fortunately, the man was able to step back quickly and escape right away. After that terrifying moment, he called the wildlife department to save him from the situation that almost cost him his life. If you were in his situation, would you also touch an anaconda even if it just looks like it's sleeping? Roof python rescue. You wouldn't expect a snake to be caught on the roof, but that's exactly what happened in a quiet community. A resident was shocked to see a huge python just lying on the roof of his neighbor's house. Because of the snake's size and weight, it was clearly struggling to move and seemed to be stuck up there. He immediately called the homeowner and the authorities to ask for help. After a while, an experienced snake hunter arrived. To him, it seemed like a normal job, but the python's size and weight were serious. Every time he handled it, he had to be extremely careful because one wrong move could lead to tragedy. After a few minutes of careful maneuvering, the giant snake was finally brought down without anyone getting hurt. The neighbors went back to normal, but since then, many couldn't help but keep looking up, waiting to see if another snake would suddenly appear on the roof. The python in the barn. Imagine you're just going into the barn to check on your animals, but instead of seeing a cow or a goat, you find a giant python lying there. It's like it's the real owner of the place. For a farmer, this is a real nightmare. The snake's belly is so big it's obvious that it has swallowed a farm animal. Pythons are known for being able to swallow whole animals using their elastic jaws and powerful muscles. But this time it looks like the python bit off more than it could chew. It can barely move because of the weight of what it ate. It's having a hard time crawling, so it was left twisted and defenseless. The farmer quickly moved his other animals to prevent another tragedy from happening. Even though he escaped danger, he will never forget the scene of the giant python in his barn. Sometimes, aside from farming, you also have to be ready to fight against real monsters. Chain giant, the dam anaconda. In Brazil, there are workers busy building a giant dam. But they didn't expect that they would disturb a monster that seemed to come from prehistoric times. While they were blasting dynamite at the construction site, a huge anaconda suddenly appeared, estimated to be 10 meters long and weighing almost 400 kilos. Just imagine, more than 32 feet of pure muscle and strength. Fear quickly spread among the workers. They used large chains and a crane to prevent the giant snake from escaping. There was even a cameraman who walked along its body to show how big it was and how terrifying it was to watch. It was as if they had seen a creature that should have been gone long ago, a living nightmare from the darkest part of the Amazon. Who would have thought that building a dam could lead to an encounter against a monster of nature? The two-headed albino marble. If a single python is already scary, what more if it has two heads? Crowds at the Yalta Zoo gathered to see a rare two-headed albino snake, a strange creature that looks like it came straight out of a horror movie. But it's real. This condition is called bicephaly, which happens when a genetic anomaly occurs while the embryo is still developing. As a result, both heads act and decide independently, sometimes getting confused. They even argue over directions or who eats first. For this kind of animal to survive, it needs extra care from the zookeepers. They make sure that both heads are able to eat properly and aren't fighting over food. Even though it's unusual and a bit scary, many people are still attracted to it. Scientists, tourists, and especially animal lovers. Usually two-headed snakes don't last long in the wild. But since it's being cared for in the zoo, it gets special attention. It's an amazing reminder that sometimes nature creates things that are surprising and astonishing. The Riverside Python Trap. In Thailand, catching pythons isn't just a job, it's an art. A group of hunters demonstrated how intelligence can triumph over strength. They built a sturdy fence near the river and placed a chicken as bait. But the twist is, to get the chicken, the snake has to go through a narrow tube, and that's where the python fell into their trap. When the hungry python arrived, it quickly went in to grab the bait. But because of its size, it got stuck inside the tube and couldn't get out. This kind of trap is very effective in Thailand because pythons are widespread and disrupt the balance of the local wildlife. Instead of using guns or force, they achieved success through patience and strategy. A clear example of how human intelligence can overcome even the fiercest predators. Attack of the giant spider. If you have arachnophobia, you'll definitely wake up in a cold sweat from this scene. One morning, a man was walking down the stairs when he suddenly noticed a huge spider quickly descending from above. This isn't the ordinary spider we see at home. It's extremely big and fast. It could cover 5 to 6 steps of the stairs in an instant. It's like a scene straight out of a horror movie, isn't it? Complete with hair-raising music. Before we could see what would happen next, the video suddenly stopped. The viewers were left wondering, did he survive or did he become the spider's breakfast? Honestly, most spiders are more afraid of humans than we are of them. But if something this big crawls in front of you, probably anyone would run without thinking. The lesson is, sometimes even the smallest creatures of nature, when they grow too big, become a real nightmare. Think Titanoboa, the beast that shouldn't exist. Imagine you're walking in your field and then suddenly a gigantic snake appears from the river. That's what a farmer experienced, who could hardly believe what he saw. A gigantic snake that seemed like the ghost of a monster from the past. The Titanoboa was a prehistoric snake that lived more than 60 million years ago. It is estimated that it could grow up to 32 feet long and weighed over 1,100 pounds. Its crushing force is enough to make crocodiles seem like toys. In his experience, the giant creature just slid by and sank back into the water without paying any attention to him. But just a few seconds were enough to cause a terror he would never forget. Many think Titanoboa is extinct. Whenever sightings like these happen, people wonder if monsters still exist. It's too big to disappear completely. Farewell to Lonesome George. One of the most well-known animals in the world of conservation was Lonesome George, the Pinta Island giant tortoise from the Galapagos. He became the symbol of the fight for animals that are slowly disappearing from the world. He was discovered to still be alive, even though he was estimated to be 100 years old. And for his kind of turtle that can live for more than 200 years, that's still young. Scientists spent many years trying to get him to reproduce, but all attempts ended in failure. When he passed away, he became the last member of his species. So as a tribute, his body was preserved to serve as a reminder and lesson for future generations. Once a species is extinct, it can't return. Lonesome George was no ordinary tortoise. He became a symbol of hope, of sacrifice, and of the importance of protecting animals before it's too late. The Great Huntsman Invasion. If you think 1 or 2 spiders are scary, what if hundreds suddenly appeared? That's just what a mother in Sydney, Australia went through. When she entered her child's room, she was greeted by a wall full of crawling huntsman spiders. Not just 5 or 10, but hundreds. It was like a scene from a horror movie where every corner of the room was covered in moving shadows. The huntsman spiders are known for the same. Their speed and size, with leg spans reaching up to a foot. While he was filming the hair-raising view, he was even more shocked to see that there were nests not just in one part of the room. There were also some in the other corner, and all the tiny spiders crawled out at the same time. Although the bite of a huntsman spider isn't really dangerous, no one can explain the fear caused by this many of them. One thing is clear, sometimes the worst nightmares don't come from your imagination, but from the very walls of your own home. The giant hornet invasion. Imagine walking into an old hut in the middle of the forest, but instead of peace and quiet, you're greeted by the buzzing of hundreds of insects. Not just ordinary bees or wasps, but Asian giant hornets, also known as murder hornets. These insects have a potent venom. If you get stung repeatedly by their sting, it can cause severe injury and, in some cases, death. Let's discover the danger. Press control on an abandoned cottage that has been completely taken over by giant wasps. They did not ignore it. They wore thick biohazard suits and carefully removed the massive nest that had almost taken over the entire corner of the house. The operation took several hours, and even though the nest was removed, the people's anxiety remained. Because as long as the forest remains, it's possible for them to come back. One thing is clear. This is the kind of house you wouldn't want to sleep in alone at night. The Australian giant arthropod. We already know that Australia's wildlife is unusual and sometimes scary, but even the locals were surprised by this discovery. A resident saw the creature crawling on the ground, an arthropod as long as 8 feet. It was like a giant millipede that came to life from the prehistoric era. Its hair-raising, moving as if it has hundreds of legs, all moving at the same time. It creates a pitiful scene that's hard to watch. This is not an ordinary insect. It looks like a monster from the past. A few days after it was seen, it was found dead. Wildlife experts immediately brought its body for thorough study. Everyone's question is, if there is one like this, is it possible that there are other creatures hiding in the vast forests of Australia? Sometimes, nature presents a scene even scarier than the creatures in the Philippines. Ikula, the Demogorgon of Japan. Imagine you're just fishing on the coast of Japan and suddenly you pull up a creature that looks like it's straight out of Stranger Things. A fish with a strange appearance, a long body like an eel, glowing eyes, and it almost looks like a ghost of the sea. Due to its looks, people instantly named it the Demogorgon of the sea, and at first glance it truly resembles a monster. But according to experts, this is not a creature from a horror movie. In fact, this is a rare type of eel-like fish called wowie. Although it looks scary in Japan, the wowie is considered a delicacy. Yes, you heard that right. Rather than being feared, this creature becomes a gourmet meal. They say its taste is buttery and delicious, but it requires careful preparation to be safe to eat. Sometimes the things we think of as monsters become special delicacies in other cultures. And here, the Habanga proved that a monster really just depends on one's perspective. The Ukrainian chupacabra. In the fields of Ukraine, stories began about a creature that mysteriously kills animals. It doesn't just kill, it approaches sheep and chickens and leaves them completely drained of blood, as if some creature had sucked out all of their life. Because of the series of incidents, the local farmers organized a hunt. And when they caught the creature, they became even more frightened and puzzled. Its appearance was like a cross between a dog and a fox, but it had an unusually long neck, sharp fangs, and strange feet. Even animal experts had a hard time identifying what species it was. Some say it's a mutated animal, while others believe it's the legendary chupacabra. Until now, it remains a mystery what kind of creature was discovered in Ukraine. Is it a predator that we don't know yet? Or a human experiment gone wrong? Well, one thing is clear. Not all mysteries are just products of imagination. The bipedal goat horror. Usually we see goats climbing mountains or balancing while standing on a narrow ledge. But in 2021, there was a man in the field who witnessed a scene that seemed like it came straight out of a horror movie. He saw a goat walking using only its 2 hind legs, not just briefly, but constantly, as if it was truly accustomed to it. What's even more hair-raising is that there's a chicken with it that seems to be hypnotized. It quietly follows the goat into the hut, and the person who saw it immediately named this creature the witch goat, and compared it to the scary movie, The Witch. It's as if this goat has a strange power that goes beyond normal nature. Sometimes animals do things that we can't explain, but when a goat walks like a human, you can't help but wonder if there's something supernatural going on. The human tick. We all know that real ticks are annoying and dangerous, especially when they latch onto human skin. But what if you saw a giant version of it, as big as a human? On the internet, a giant sculpture of a tick placed near a lake went viral. It has 8 legs, a demonic look, and seems ready to suck blood. It's no wonder why many people are disgusted and afraid of it. But here's the twist. It's not real. It's just an art installation created by an artist who wants to shock the public. And he really succeeded, because the price he put on this reached $3,500. It's proof that even if it's man-made, the image of creatures we fear is enough to cause nightmares. So the question is, who has the guts to buy this kind of art? The Gorilla Crow mystery. A strange video went viral in Japan and immediately blew up the internet. A crow was filmed in a mall, but it wasn't an ordinary one. Its stance and appearance looked like a mix between a bird and a gorilla. Netizens immediately called this creature Gorilla Crow because of its muscular appearance, as if it was ready for bodybuilding. Its posture had its wings lowered while its legs were spread apart. It's as if it's getting ready to lift a heavy barbell. But according to experts, this is not a monster or a mutant bird. What was captured on camera is a large-billed crow in what's called a sunning position. In this position, the bird lowers its wings and spreads its legs to absorb the heat of the sun. Due to its appearance, the Gorilla Crow quickly became legendary. This proves that sometimes the ordinary behavior of animals can seem mysterious to humans. The giant grouper catch and fishing. There are times when only small fish are caught. But in Peru, Brazil, there was a fisherman who caught something that looked like a monster from ancient times, a giant grouper. This fish weighed over 300 kilos, and because it was so big, they even needed a cart to lift and carry it. Even though groupers are known for being large, it's extremely rare for them to reach this size. After the video went viral on social media, many questioned whether it was a sea monster or an unusual fish. But it's real. That grouper is a legitimate giant of the sea. For the fishermen, this was more than just a simple catch. It's a legendary story that will be passed down through many generations, because it's not every day that you catch a fish that's almost as big as a person. The bear-lion chase. Imagine you're just driving on a quiet road surrounded by trees and the cool breeze. Suddenly, a creature appears in front of you as if it came straight out of a nightmare. According to 2 witnesses, its appearance was like a mix between a bear and a lion. It had a muscular body, was covered in fur, and had a strange appearance that was hard to explain. It was like a creature from another world, almost similar to the alien character Alien Lifeform. But before they could examine it closely, it suddenly became aggressive. It ran towards them and chased their vehicle. Out of fear, they quickly got back in and drove the car as fast as they could. Until now, it's still unclear what kind of animal they actually saw. Was it a mutant? An experiment gone wrong? Or maybe a creature that science has yet to discover? One thing is for sure. Just a few seconds of encounter is enough to etch an unforgettable fear in their minds.